I, 22 female, have two brothers. For the sake of this post, I'll call them John, 18 male, and Terry, teen male. My mom, 50, has always had a stronger liking towards both John and Terry. Ever since they were little, they could do no harm in her eyes. Since I was little, I would always get in trouble for everything John and Terry did. If they hurt each other, it was my fault. If they did something wrong, it was my fault, etc. So my mom always raised me as a caregiver. I had to take care of my little brothers. I was the one cooking, cleaning, washing, ironing their clothes, buying them stuff they needed, helping them with their homework, etc. However, due to me always doing everything for them, they've become the most useless human beings on earth. They're almost adults and still won't do their own laundry, won't help with the cooking, won't clean anything that they made a mess, and are just overall grubs, leaving their dirty tissues and clothes everywhere. Last night was my last straw, when John spilled an entire bottle of orange juice on the floor, and my mom told me to clean it up. Of course, I immediately started yelling at her, saying she failed as a parent. Instead of raising her sons to pull their own weight in this house and teaching them basic life skills, she let everyone else do it for them and never taught them a thing. She instantly started laughing at me and said I was insane to think that's how life was there and that she raised all of us equally. I then told her that I can't wait until she grows old and will end up relying on both of them because I won't be around to help her with anything, and she can see how well she raised them. But she told me that won't be happening because she doesn't want them taking care of her when she's older. I stormed off to my room and cried for 10 minutes before packing a bag and driving to my boyfriend's house. When I told him what had happened, he said he understood why I felt the way I did, but that I was quite harsh towards my mom and should apologize for lashing out at her like that. My friend also says that I'm the idiot and that I shouldn't speak to my mom like that. My mom has since left 2 voicemails demanding I come back home now. I'm not going home until I've calmed down and she's not as angry. So, am I the idiot? You need a better boyfriend and you need to find someplace else to live. Your 18-year-old brother should be capable of mopping up an entire bottle of orange juice on the floor. He spilled it. He should clean it up thoroughly enough that it isn't sticky either. And as for taking care of your mama and her dotage, LOL, yeah, mom can just wait and see about that. Not the idiot. You need to let your mother know that you will no longer serve as your brother's maid because she deserves the criticism she got. Parentification is a real and serious problem. It sounds like she robbed you of your childhood and forced you to raise kids that weren't yours. The argument of, well, it's family is pointless when that family clearly doesn't respect you or anything you do. Blood may be thicker than water, but you need water to live. It was so weird of her to tell you to clean up something an 18-year-old dude spilled. Not so weird when you consider gender roles and misogyny. Mom taught her daughter to be caregiving and take care of men, while teaching her son that, as men, they don't have to do crap because a woman will do it for them. OP, this will always remain the same. Get out and save yourself. And for anybody condemning you for how you said what you said, grow up. The family is not beyond reproach just because they're family. And sometimes harsh words need to be said. Agree. Her mother raised her with such messed up gender norms and dared to laugh at her when she questioned. What kind of parent laughs at their kid in distress? Girl, just move out. You're 22. Start saving and roll out. College dorm? Do something. Anything but stay there. I, a teen female, and my sister, 18, are really close. We hang out whenever she's in town, and we almost always text or call each other. My dad, 37, sees my brother, tween, as the golden child. If he does anything wrong, either I get the blame or it's not a big deal. My mother, 34, has treated us all the same. My parents are divorced. All of my siblings except my sister, who's in college, stay with my mom during the weekdays and stay at my dad's in the weekends. But sometimes my brother stays with my dad for a whole week. A few weeks ago, my brother and I stayed at my dad's house during the weekend. We arrived really late, since my brother packed later than usual, so we went to bed straight away. The next morning I woke up, the last one, while my dad made eggs for my brother and I made cereal for myself. We spent the morning telling our dad about school and life in general. He mostly listened to my brother, and then I would talk after him. After breakfast, my brother ran upstairs, me following him to show my dad something. When we ran back down, my brother accidentally fell, hitting his back against the table and making a photo frame fall, causing it to break. My brother's fine. He just had a little bruise. My dad, who saw what happened, started to yell, while my brother started to cry. He comforted my brother and then told him to leave the room because he had to talk to me. After my brother left, my dad started yelling at me about how I broke the photo and wanted me to pay for it. I told him that he saw everything happen and my brother did it, not me, so he should be blamed since it was his fault. He then explained how I should have told him not to run and should have caught him before he fell. So, in the end, it's my fault entirely. I stood there in shock for a few minutes, then told him that I would not be paying for the photo frame, and that if he really saw that I'm the person to blame in this situation, that I'm sorry, but it's not my fault. It's his golden child's fault. Then I ran upstairs before he could say anything more. Later that day, my brother and dad went to an amusement park nearby to cheer up my brother, and I stayed home. I messaged my sister. After about an hour passed, my sister called me and we talked. She asked me how my dad was doing and what was going on. I then started to cry, telling her what had happened as she listened. Hours later, my dad and brother came home and we have dinner. Then we go back to our mom's a few days later. That was weeks ago, and now my sister refuses to speak to our father until he apologizes to me. And my dad blames me for telling her, saying that I shouldn't have, and now I've destroyed their relationship. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your father's playing favorites. He has to face the consequences of his acts. If I were you, I would not go to his house on weekends. You're old enough to choose, and this type of attitude rarely changes. Your sister's not talking to your father because of his abusive behavior. It's a good thing to tell others about your experiences if they're safe people. It sounds like your sister has your back, and your dad's playing the victim card for a situation he created on his own. Also, tell your mother what happened. You're old enough to have a voice in which parent you stay with. And when you said your dad regarded your brother as the golden child, you weren't kidding. If there are any further custody disputes, use this incident to show your father's incompetence as a parent. I hope as your brother matures, he sees the damage your father has done. Hugs. OP. When there's a golden child, your brother, /scapegoat, you, dynamic within the family, the parent exhibiting this behavior is usually a narcissist and is attempting to pit the children against each other. You should tell your mother because you're being abused, and so is your brother. Narcissists want to create new narcs, and that's exactly what he's doing with your brother. It's a form of emotional abuse that looks like favoritism, but it's pretty damaging to the kid. They often end up being just like the narc parent. You'll see when he gets older and his behavior changes. Tell your mom. You both will need therapy. Narcs always damage their kids. Update. I told my mom about what happened, and now she no longer allows me to see him, even if he apologizes. She tried to do the same with my brother, but now my brother refuses to leave my dad's house, and she can't force him to. For context, my wife, 28, and I, 32 male, discovered that we're expecting in January of this year. Recently, at one of her ultrasound appointments, we found out we're having a baby girl. A few nights ago, my wife and I discussed possible baby names. She mentioned her mother, Anna, and asked me how it would feel if our daughter inherited her name. I told her that I loved that idea, not only because Anna's a pretty name, but because my wife is Puerto Rican. I know how important it would be to her family if we carried on her mother's name, since it's been in her family for ages. I figured that the conversation was over after I agreed, but just last night at dinner, my wife brought it up again. She said it's so meaningful that I let our daughter have her grandmother's middle name. When she said this, I was shocked. I had assumed my wife was talking about her mother's first name, not her middle name. This might not have been a huge deal, but my mother-in-law's middle name is, wait for it, Princess. I told my wife that I was sorry, but I didn't want our daughter to be named Princess. Upon hearing this, she burst into tears, calling me a disgrace to her family and an awful father for excluding our kid. I told her that she was acting crazy and that I would be fine with the name Anna, but Princess is not a name I'm comfortable giving our newborn. She's been avoiding me all day, and I'm wondering if I'm going nuts. I don't want our kid to be bullied, but family is so important to me and my wife. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Do not back down. As a teacher with a student named Prince in my class, I cannot stress enough that this would be a bad idea for a name. It sets the stage for entitlement and judgment and eye-rolling. Anna's a lovely name, but seriously, this is a hill to die on. We had a Sir and a Duchess, both siblings in my high school. Sir was full of attitude and loved it when people called him Sir, got off on it, and was disrespectful as heck to people. Duchess wasn't much better. They grew up and had a heck of a time finding good jobs because people thought they were either screwing with the company or would be a handful to employ. Yes, please die on this hill. Tell her you can name your daughter Princess as long as your next children are Prince, Lord, Lady, Duchess, or Queen. I'm suspicious she intentionally was unclear about which name she was talking about, knowing that you wouldn't agree. People forget that kids grow up. Can you imagine an adult working in a potentially corporate environment with that name? Kids aren't dolls or pets. Kids' names are a 2 yes, 1 no kind of thing. And bursting into tears because you didn't immediately agree to it and insulting you as a father is awfully manipulative. Chill, brother. My wife reacted similarly to some discussions about the future kids' names during her pregnancy at certain points. However, once the kid was out in the world and things became more stable, emotionally, etc., she was quite glad that I didn't back down on some of her name ideas. It's an emotional time, and people can get weird and emotional about things they feel are bigger than the world itself. My younger brother is very allergic to dogs. I love them. I've wanted one all my life, but we couldn't have one because it would be bad for him. I never held this against him. I understood that it was a medical thing and that it would be stupid to risk his health just for me to get a dog. However, I recently purchased my own home in a different state than my family, and I got myself a dog. His name is Bradford, and he's a husky, my dream dog. I posted a picture of Bradley on my socials, and my parents saw them. They said I was irresponsible to get a dog because of my brother. I was like, what? I literally live hundreds of miles away from them. Our next door neighbor had dogs when I was growing up. It's not like he will affect my brother at all. They said they had planned to ask if my brother could stay with me while he attended college. News to me. I said it was a good idea to let me know they were planning on that, since they don't own my home. They said they had helped me out through school, hoping I would help them when it was my brother's turn. Once again, this was news to me. They said I needed to get rid of Bradley. I told them to invoice me for their help and not bother me again. They keep trying to contact me, but I'm not interested in hearing it. I waited 26 years for a dog, and he's not going anywhere. They think I'm being an idiot for prioritizing my dog over my brother and for how offhandedly I told them to bill me. Am I the idiot? Haha, yeah. You're responsible for not knowing what we haven't told you. Not the idiot. You're not prioritizing your dog over your brother. You are prioritizing your own life over taking over your parents' responsibilities. And there's more to this story than this. OP cut them off fast and very much suspect that the brother is the favorite and the spoiled one. And OP has sacrificed more than just not having a dog as a kid for his brother. So OP was expected to fawn over the brother and look forward to giving him a free room and board. I'm glad OP stood up for himself. When you get multiple kids, don't expect the oldest one to take care of the rest. Going out to eat with my grandparents has always been an ordeal. They complain and always make the waiter jump through hoops over the smallest things. So it was my graduation dinner right after my ceremony. I begged my mom for it to just be us family and not to invite my grandparents for the above reasons. My mom said it would be disrespectful not to invite them since they attended my ceremony. We get to the restaurant and my grandma has an issue with her burger. The bun is too bready for her, so she complains that she wants the burger remade with whatever they use on the children's menu for burgers. The waitress said it was the same bun, but just a smaller portion. My grandma wanted to see the bun before it was remade, so the waitress brought out the children's bun for examination. My grandma didn't like it and asked for sandwich bread for her burger, but the waitress explained that all the sandwiches they had were served on Texas garlic toast. My grandma said that's ridiculous. At this point, I said this is exactly why I didn't want my grandparents to go, and I asked my dad to just take me home so I could go to my friend's graduation party instead. My dad did so without argument. My mom and grandma were angry at me, and mom tried to ground me for being disrespectful to my grandma. I canceled my graduation party for next week, and I'm staying with a friend. I'm almost planning not to come back because I'm leaving for college, and my mom is bent on punishing me for my attitude problem and ruining her plans for my graduation party that I'm now not going to. I'm sick of being forced to interact with my mom and grandparents. My dad says he understands and has brought me clothes and stuff to my friend's house while I take a break from my mom. Not the idiot. The dinner was about you, and Grandma didn't get it. It seems like your father is just as tired of it as well. I would tell him that he has your blessing to divorce your mom if she keeps allowing her parents to mess with your life. I wonder if anyone ever spoke to the grandmother about her constant complaining. The thing is, with narcissists, you can tell them what they are to your heart's content, and they won't take it on and can never be wrong because they're narcissists. That's the point. I live with one. If you bring it up, they'll just flip it around on you anyway. They denied Grandma was being disrespectful and accused OP of being disrespectful by leaving and not putting up with the rude treatment of the waitstaff. Now OP feels like the rude one for politely leaving, even though Grandma was actually disrespectful to everyone involved. I took my mom out for dinner once, and she called the manager over to complain about the size of the plate. Like, the actual plate. It was too big, so the baby potatoes looked too small. I kid you not. She was like this my whole life, and it was awful. Ditch out. You're not obligated to associate with people who suck all the joy out of your life.